Welcome back to MSI 2018. I am joined by the victorious G4. First question, I just want to know, how does it feel to put up that first win on an international stage like this?
รู้สึกไงบ้างที่ชนะแล้วอ่ะในที่สุดรู้สึกไงเลยต้องมาเขามีไหมโอเค
รู้สึกควรจะได้เนี่ยอาทิตย์แรกแล้วแต่ว่าไม่ใช่มะรืนเมื่อวันที่ผ่านมาแต่ว่าผิดพลาดแต่ว่าแบบก็ทั้งดีใจแล้วก็เสียใจครับแต่ก็รู้สึกดีมากกว่าที่ได้วินมา
He said he actually thought he should have done this since the first day that he played so he felt kind of mixed happy and sad but mostly he's happy with his performance
Good to hear there is a little bit of happiness there. Now, I know it was a rough first day. Tell me, does this level of performance just keep coming out from Ascension? Do you expect to keep winning up against these teams now that you found this first win on the day?
คิดว่าหลังจากที่แบบว่าเจอเหมือนว่าจุดที่ใช่แล้วอะสำหรับทีม Ascension อะคิดว่าจะชนะต่อไปได้เรื่อยๆหรือเปล่า
คิดว่าชนะได้ครับมันยังมีโอกาสอยู่ถึงจะน้อยก็เถอะ
He thinks there's always a chance even though it's slim but he thinks he'll be able to win all the games
Now, at the end of the day, what is it going to take for you to be happy with the performance representing the GPL and representing Thailand?
รู้สึกว่าจะแฮปปี้ไหมกับแบบว่าการเล่นของตัวเองอะไรอย่างเงี้ยที่ได้วันนี้ for today right โอเคที่ว่าแฮปปี้ไหม
รู้สึกยังไม่พอใจเท่าที่ฝึกซ้อมมามันดีกว่านี้ครับแบบพอเกมแข่งจริงมันแบบด้อยลงไปเยอะเลย
He said that what he have practiced it was way better than this so he was not really satisfied with his performance yet
All right, it's a shame to hear that, but I hope you can continue to show more good performances like you did in that game. Thank you again for taking the time to speak to me. For now, we're going to send it back to the analyst desk to get into our next matchup.
Thank you very much, Dracos, and welcome to the State Farm Analyst Zone. G4 didn't seem too happy, but this was monumental because G4 and Lloyd had been 0-19 playing in major international tournaments since 2015, and this is their very, very first win, so that is absolutely huge. And I'm going to do something that I've been wanting to do ever since I've been covering G4, and they finally got a win. Are you ready?
I'm prepared. I'm ready.
Like a G4, like a G4, ba-da-ba-da-ba, and now I'm feeling so fly like a G4. I had to do it. It was monumental. He wasn't too confident, but I gotta say that was a fantastic way to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he plays better in scrims, I want to see it come out on stage because he was absolutely everywhere on that Vladimir, being able to get backline access versus that team. Every single time, getting both the Hemoplague on the Karma as well as Lodix Tristana was actually what swung that game because generally Karma's shield should be enough to repel that initial assault, and then it should be reversed.
Yeah, a lot of the compositions that Gambit had made it incredibly difficult for Ascension to even go for that all-in. Yep. Because you have the Camille, you have the Vladimir, you already mentioned it. So every single time they went in, essentially they had to either blow up Karma or engage for a second time, which made those fights so fun to watch.
And on top of getting the first win for the GPL, they also blow this group not wide open, but kind of open. But now it opens the door for Gambit possibly getting into a battle with whatever team gets more wins.
Absolutely, because before this loss for Gambit, you know, maybe KLG, if they won every game today, had the destiny in their own hands. However, now teams like Rainbow7 can start opening that door just a little bit more.
And this is why the rematch that's coming up right now between Kaos Latin Games from the CLS versus Rainbow7, formerly known as Lion from the LLN, is so important because these teams now know, hey, we can do this. This match is so important because if we win it, all of a sudden we have a possibility of grabbing that #1 spot. We do want to cast our minds back to Thursday, the very first matchup in the LATAM clash. In the end, the CLS and KLG came out on top, but it looked less like a game of League of Legends and more like an absolute grudge match. Tierwulf and Oddie just seemed to have eyes only for each other.
And it literally started at level 1. The moment the wards got in place, Oddie was like, wait a second, I'm not going to be trading sides, I'm going to be trading lives. The guy just goes in the enemy jungle, gets him at the beginning, and then it just happened time and time again. It felt like both of them just had it out for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what we saw was in the end, Tierwulf's mid laner Plugo was there and had his back. Every single time the invades started coming, he was able to rotate across nice and early. I think that Anivia was a really nice pickup for them. And this is something that you're not going to be able to keep a Kha'Zix out solo, especially if he goes with a Q evolve. You're going to have to need your team to help out, and that's what happened.
And that's why Oddie probably is taking a step back after that game, recognizing that he just got bloodlust. He saw the composition that KLG was shorting him, and he just kind of got drawn into that blood rush. So really what he should have done, just take it back. They had the early game pretty set. The moment Olaf was down 2 kills, but then don't get drawn in by the team. Don't get drawn in by the grudge match.
Might be easier to say than to actually do. This is the first time that the CLS at LATAM South beat Latin America North since 2015. And we also saw in the opening video today, Tierwulf screaming whilst beating them, "Go home!" And there's so much grudge there. There's so much fire.
And you also saw the carry-on effect, because after that victory, KLG went on to win their next game, and it was Rainbow7 who actually fell down, who everyone had topping this group. So obviously, there is a lot of emotion towards this.
Yeah, KLG looking good, 2-1, as you said. And Rainbow7, the team that came in as absolute favorites, ex-Lion Gaming, with fantastic players across the board. But as of yet, we haven't really seen their synergy. We haven't really seen that star power come out here.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when you add Whitelotus back to the lineup. He hasn't played all split long. You know, this isn't the team they necessarily qualified with. Whilst we put a big magnifying glass on the superstar AD carry, as we should, his return wasn't all that spectacular. And I think this is one of those situations where potentially you can look to change up a lineup. You bring a substitute for a reason, Rad, and I would like to see, if this game doesn't go well, for that AD carry to be swapped.
That's fair. I want to challenge that by saying, while it's not comparable to his last time he showed in play-ins in the world stage, a lot of it comes down to the setup for the fight, because sEiya has been playing phenomenally, and Whitelotus can be playing just as well. The issue is a lot of the setup around Barons or for the team fights is not on their terms, and they're getting bun rushed.
But that's the thing, is that when you change lineups, that's when the setup does start to suffer, because if not every single person knows exactly what their piece needs to be during this, if you need to, you know, communicate that a little bit extra and you're not able to make those snap-second decisions, potentially that's when you start falling down.
Yeah, when we look at this team and we don't think about what happened Thursday, Oddie, sEiya, Whitelotus, those are all huge names, and individually they do have the star power. But is it enough? After what we've seen from KLG, who takes this game?
I think that at the end of the day, I had KLG coming out of the group, so I want to say KLG.
Same.
However, they do have some big veterans to go up against who will be bouncing back. I'm going to stick with KLG. I think that they can carry this one through, but I think it's going to be another bloodbath.
Yeah, I will say that one thing I'm afraid of, and even though I will go with Rainbow7 because I feel like they have the star power, Nate's not that bad. I mean, he came up with the Swain pick, and he was showcasing that he could just flash right in there. So I feel like if we're talking about the fact that KLG don't have as many stars, we're getting challenged on day one.
I don't know how that timing was so correct, but just Nate on screen, he took his headset off, and that's when you said,
oh, he heard me.
Nate's not that bad. I mean, that's something you love to hear, right? That's a great compliment.
Yeah.
Spawn, you're not that bad.
The biggest backhanded compliment ever.
No.
But he was a person that we did have a magnifying glass on, and I agree, especially that Swain performance, being able to play mage carries gives your team diversity, and that's something they can look towards.
Oh, so much to look out for in this LATAM clash. Round 2, ding, ding, ding. Let's head over to Dracos and actually the coach of Rainbow7.
I'm here with Latin America North's Rainbow7's coach, Yeti. Yeti, welcome. Now, it was a rough first day for you and Rainbow7. Tell me what's changed coming into the second day of matches.
Yeah, it was kind of rough. I think the main thing is to identify that we are not a bad team by any means. We just had a bad execution on some of our games, so our main focus is to execute better and maybe change a little thing or two about our strategy, but we just want to execute better and keep our hopes alive.
All right, your next opponent, Chaos Latin Gamers. I know this is a big rivalry, the LATAM rivalry. You guys lost the last time. Are you going to bring it back this time around?
Of course. I mean, I think it's pretty cool at these tournaments that we get to play each team twice. So we lost 2 days ago, but we have to get revenge on them. So I'm pretty sure we can take them, and even if we don't qualify, then we should make sure that they don't qualify either.
All right, I love it. The revenge, looking to take them down. Well, good luck in your match today, Yeti.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back for Game 2. Even if we don't qualify, we will make sure that they don't qualify. That's pretty spicy, especially since Gambit are now in arm's reach for KLG. One win equalizes those scorelines.
Yeah, we don't really know what's going to happen with the rest of this group right now. It's all up in the air, and that first step being that first game makes it very exciting moving forwards. But it's the Battle of Latin America. We're back one more time.
Yeah, looking to repeat their success from day one is Chaos Latin Gamers in the top lane. He's not that bad. It's Nate. Their jungler is Tierwulf. Their mid laner is Plugo. AD carry Fix, support Slow, and their coach Pierre.
And of course, aiming to take down their rivals on the red side, it is Rainbow7 in the top lane. Jirall, jungle Oddie, mid lane sEiya, AD carry Whitelotus, support Genthix, and their coach Yeti.
Now, the last time these two teams met, Rusty, it was very much KLG favored. They were able to take the win. They had this composition where their Anivia and Swain just partnered up so incredibly well, and it was the Plugo nature.
Yeah,
really.
it was. I mean, honestly, that combo was great. And I think what was interesting about that game, if we take a step back and we don't talk about the draft itself, it was just bloodbath. They just wanted to beat each other. They didn't necessarily just want to win the game. They wanted to make sure their opponents suffered whilst they were winning. And I think that chaos is something that brought about the success from Anivia, the success from that Swain, and the really cool 2v2 combo between them. But they did step up to the plate when it mattered. They did play fantastically well. And that is something we have to continue to explore because Nate is a bit of an enigma who has had a very good tournament so far, but had a very poor split.
That he did, and especially his laning in the split was very poor. And that has actually continued. He's still about 20 CS down at the 15-minute mark, but somehow he's able to translate it into good team fights, coordinates well with his team as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him put back on something like a tank just for that extra protection for him in the lane and still have that impact in the late game. But the other area we do have to focus is jungle, because Tierwulf and Oddie were the start of that brawl. They were the start, they were the animosity that really erupted in that last game. First time they'd ever played each other, it was Tierwulf that came out on top in the end. I'm sure Oddie will want revenge.
And they have been talking the talk as well, you know, saying that they're going to beat one another. A lot of confidence to be seen, and this was the game where we got the dance as well. So we know full well that there's a bit of that animosity you mentioned between the two of them. And that jungle role should be hot and heavy early. They should be going in for a lot of action quickly. And that's where Nate comes in. That's where actually the mentioning of the tanks is super interesting to me, because that all usually, if you see one in the draft, influences towards the bottom side of the map.
And Nate is just correcting his peripherals on stage, which is why we're not into pick and ban. Estimate about 45 seconds to a minute, or even sooner than that, because I think we're going to jump into pick and ban in just a second. Talking about it, like we've moved KLG across towards the blue side in this game. We talk about the priority for tanks. We talk about how the junglers are very strong. Is there something you really want to see Chaos Latin gamers go for here that would help them out against Rainbow7?
I still personally want to see a bit of priority towards the Trundle or the likes of Trundle as a champion. I think fundamentally we've seen two of them firstly from Rainbow7, and I don't know if there is a lot of counterplay available against the Trundle pretty much ever. But alternatively, we just saw the Sejuani from Ascension. I think that's a place where they could actually draw inspiration and say, perhaps we don't go for the aggressive jungle skirmisher. We just dive them at level 6. Just engage and get the bottom lane roll.
And just go for a comp that's simple to execute, because sometimes that's what you need. If you have nerves on stage, if you're playing against one of your fiercest rivals, you just need something that's just go. Just press R, we win the game because of it. Morgana ban, Azir ban, Trundle ban here from Chaos Latin Gamer from the CLS. Rainbow7 going to get rid of the Kai'Sa, Rakan, and Swain.
And of course, note that Tierwulf is one of the few junglers that has played the Graves, gone towards the aggressive options, something that you may actually see from him moving forwards. Very unlikely that they would be a first pick, however. You're looking towards the rest of the map. Always priority towards the support role and the AD carry position, depending on the bans. And in this instance, Caitlyn, which should always be banned, is
not banned because it was the Kai'Sa and Rakan focus from Rainbow7. So Caitlyn picked up for Fix and Slow in the bottom lane. It's great for Chaos Latin gamers. They like playing towards that bottom lane early on.
I mean, to me, the one that does stand out aside from the Kai'Sa and the Rakan is the Swain ban. Something that can be flexed between KLG as well. Give it to Nate in the top lane. Does force that ban now. Rainbow7, no hesitation with their responses, but they know full well that the Caitlyn composition already has a strong bottom lane 2v2.
Giving Jirall a top lane carry for the first time in the tournament as well. He's only played Sion and Ornn up until now. He knows perhaps that he has a easier matchup in towards Nate. 100% win rate for the Gangplank as well here at MSI.
Super strong champion in its own right. Going to be rounded out with the Jhin as well for Rainbow7. So they've matched the AD carry position, but they haven't picked their support. So perhaps leaving the opportunity open to KLG to rotate that now and then look towards the counter pick as a response. Maybe set up a better 2v2, knowing that.
Great predictions there. Rusty, knowing that the support would be picked. You didn't pick which support, otherwise it would be superb predictions. We'll give you great for now. Maybe you'll get the actual support picks later on. It's the Braum and the Olaf for Chaos Latin gamers. Have to see where Rainbow7 go next.
A lot of chase downs. Actually a nightmare composition to be a Jhin in as well. You'd have to imagine that he's going to have a pretty rough experience. A lot of the composition may want to just start standing in front of him to make sure that he is going to be alive and just be concerned with the flanks for the rest of the draft.
So we have Karma, Jhin, probably in the bottom lane. Karma can be flexed to mid, of course, for sEiya. He's been more about carrying, though. Azir, Cassiopeia, more his sort of style. Gangplank in the top lane here for Rainbow7 as well.
And I do think that the Karma may well be a takeaway from Plugo. He is kind of the facilitator of the team, plays the likes of the Karma and goes towards the bottom lane.
Look at that win rate, though. Why are people picking Karma if she only wins 17% of games?
Pretty bad win rate. I think we've only seen it mid at this tournament as well. I'll be honest with you, it just starts to get outscaled very quickly. We often see it into the Vladimir, and they still tend to lose those team fights. Ultimately, hasn't been having the best showing. That's reflected through the win rate. but we all know why Karma's being picked in the first place. And I don't think that the problem is the champion itself. I think it's the team's knowledge of how to work around it more effectively.
We'll have to see if Chaos Latin Gamers do pick up the Vlad for themselves as that sort of answer in towards the Karma. Ornn and Gnar banned by Rainbow7. They want to give this Gangplank a good matchup in that top lane against Nate. Zac and Skarner removed by Chaos Latin Gamers, trying to pinch Oddie's pool a little bit.
I mean, amusingly, you often see Gangplank into Ornn and into Gnar, so those are very curious bans to be seen in the first place. Ornn, very good team fighter, very good enabler as well from long ranges to set your team up. And
okay, you did predict this. Great prediction. It's Sejuani for Rainbow7. You said we're probably going to see a Sejuani in this game for the press R composition, which is what Rainbow7 are starting to develop.
You really hold people to their words coming into the draft.
I like to praise you when you get things right.
I appreciate that. But yes, we do see the Sejuani, something that we don't often see until today, actually. It's the second Sejuani now. First one was super successful, and I think the same merit applies. You mentioned make the composition easier. Definitely true. He knows his jungle matchup as well now. It's not going to be a Trundle that diffuses him completely.
Camille, and there's the Vlad for Plugo in the mid lane, but the Camille is really interesting, putting Nate not on a tank, but once again on a carry in that top lane.
And I think that is a part of the bans that we were going to allude towards as well. We got the Ornn and the Gnar taken away, carries that can engage, kind of hybrid champions, but no choice towards Asaya, no choice towards the Maokai. It is a conscious choice in the end from KLG to put him now on that carry, and Nate's current form may well dictate a big part of that. The fact that he's just been so good recently, why make him be a tank? Let him carry.
It makes a lot of sense. sEiya's going to pick up the Ryze in the mid lane. He has been consistently a carry for Rainbow7. We'll be trying to do it again in this game. Across the board, picks that are kind of meta, we've kind of seen, but also some picks that are a little bit unusual in the form of Caitlyn getting through, Jhin Karma being the support in the bottom lane, the Camille for Nate. A lot of points that we need to watch in this game, Russ.
Yeah, Camille into the Gangplank as well. Usually forces the Grasp of the Undying in the matchup, so a little bit more defensive there from Jirall. Just wants to scale through. Doesn't get the same amount of gold, however, as the Klep demands. In the jungle role, there's an engaged source from Rainbow7 as well. That's the place you have to look towards. When usually KLG focus bottom lane, you may be very adept at counter ganking now, but your own jungle's a place you have to worry about.
Have to see if that jungle matchup goes the way it did last time. Remember, the last time these two teams met, it was the CLS team, the team from South Latin America, that took the win. Chaos Latin Gamers one-upping their northern counterparts. And Rainbow7, they've said it. sEiya said it. He said, this is our responsibility to the fans, to beat Chaos Latin Gamers. There is a lot riding on these games, not only because Rainbow7 really need to win to have a chance of getting out of the group, but also because there's a lot of pride on the line between these two teams.
Quite simply because they are both Latin American. There is more than just the wins, like you mentioned. It's super spicy when you watch them go against each other. It always feels like a grudge match. Even if we are at the MSI play-ins, they just need to beat each other.
We have to see if they are able to do it. We're going to jump on towards the Summoner's Rift for the second game of the day. Chaos Latin Gamers taking on Rainbow7. And Rainbow7, I think, I at least would say, have disappointed thus far this tournament. Haven't really stepped up to the plate. Whitelotus specifically has not been the AD carry we saw at Worlds.
I mean, quite simply, we thought they were going to be 3-0. Right now, 1 and 2 definitely have disappointed, at least to the expectations of all of the analysts and the viewers, thinking they would be far superior from that first day. But now is the opportunity. It starts with Ascension, can end perhaps with Rainbow7. The entire balance of this group will be upset. We've got to get that one here. With a scaling composition as well, the Gangplank, the Ryze, the Jhin, that may well be a concern for them, especially with a Sejuani in the jungle. And to me, looking through the early game, it's not ideal for KLG either, but I would prefer to be the Olaf.
Oh, Tierwulf preferred it yesterday as well. That's what won him the game then. Alongside the combination coming out from the Swain and Anivia, we still see, you know, Plugo on a carry in this mid lane, a zone control carry, which is what he's so good at playing for Chaos Latin Gamers. And we still see Nate on someone who can influence the team fights. My worry for him is it's not as tanky as a Swain. You know, Camille, you jump in, can fall pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely the case. Team fighting is a delicate thing to actually execute on. You and Nate in this instance. And as we watch the jungler start on the bottom side of the map, it's actually going to be both on the bottom side. We've seen a very untraditional start lately with junglers starting at the red side, or top side, I should say, of Summoner's Rift, working down towards bottom. And for KLG, when they were focused down there, that's the one that you would have the highest expectations towards. when you're playing against the Karma lane, you probably want to do that as well to set up your push to prevent the Karma. But everyone starts on the bottom side, paths upwards.
So Oddie took a slightly longer route here to try and get towards his red buff, maybe to try and dodge out the ward that had been put near his Razor Beaks. Maybe to dodge a Tierwulf invade as well if that had happened, which it didn't. Both the junglers are going to meet up towards that top side, and might be the first sort of skirmish that we see. Over the Scuttle Crab, over the top lane, Nate has pushed in first, so he'll be able to react if a fight does begin.
And most Sejuani's trend away from doing the Raptor camps if they start with a machete. And he hasn't gone for the attack speed either, so he's actually gone the complete opposite route with his itemization and runes, so he wants these Raptors. And Tierwulf knows that.
Once again, it's Tierwulf v Oddie. It's that grudge match we talked about. Both of these junglers do not want to give their opponents an inch. And Tierwulf comes out on top at the moment. He's going to go up towards the Krugs as well, just try and steal away as much of this jungle as he can.
You have to expect this was entirely a conscious decision from the side of Rainbow7 as well. Skipping the Raptors, going to red buff, then trying to come back and maybe take them away before the Olaf gets there. There's a sign that they have respect. They might be a little bit afraid of it. And then they back away when he shows up.
You can see Tierwulf over the first day at MSI had such a strong performance. Really likes to play around that bottom and mid lane as well. High proximity with his AD carry, high proximity with his support. Means basically he spends a third of the early game near his support, trying to ward, trying to play with it.
That's insane. 30% proximity towards your support player always indicates that where he is going to be on the map. If the support's roaming to him, or if he's going to the bottom lane, they're always going to be close to one another. But this game is the complete opposite. When you actually look at that, he's going to be in the jungle invading, trying to get CS leads. He's not even going to see slow for quite some time.
And it's Oddie who's come down towards the bottom lane first, answering the Krug steal that came out from Tierwulf, but also a possibility he sneaks in behind KLG here and maybe gets the first gank off in the game. Maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic with that, but
he's very low. Actually, they know exactly where he is, so a lot of respect shown here from the jungler of Rainbow7. And the Caitlyn is getting pushed in. And the biggest part for this is usually going to be the fact that there's a Karma, so it diffuses that a lot. We mentioned the level 1. I think that's actually the biggest part of this as well. And having boots and 4 pots for Whitelotus means that no matter what the Caitlyn does to try and correct the ship as it starts to go pushing towards them, can't actually push a Jhin out. That's a whole lot of potions.
Plugo did get the push in the mid lane though. He was able to force sEiya back, teleported, has the tier now stacking up on the Ryze. A champion that can have such impact in the game, Ryze, but sometimes you see him kind of fall off as the game progresses, kind of not have as much impact in a pure team fight as something like a Vladimir who has that Hemo Plague, who has the Sanguine Pool to reposition as well.
Very difficult to navigate compared to the Vladimir. Teleport has to... Ooh,
he doesn't cancel it. Straight into the face of Tierwulf and Nate. That's very greedy from Jirall. Look at sEiya. He's on his way up. What is this, Jirall? Just turning it around the 2v1. Finish the teleport. Disrespect to Chaos Latin gamers.
And sEiya even nearby. They tried really hard to cancel that teleport. They wanted to scare him into submission, but he chooses to follow it. He knows that he's strong enough. That Olaf did not have a lot of health. He was made to pay for it. Very well done from Jirall.
That's how you one-up the team that beat you before you take a 2v1 like this.
And you can see that the Olaf isn't exceptionally low by any means. This was reactionary to seeing the teleport, choosing to go in and cancel him. He's level 5, saves the oranges for the correct moment, and gets the keg off. So the trial by fire. Enough damage in the end to actually burn down the Olaf and even control the lane afterwards in the 1v2.
Neither of the Chaos Latin gamers guys taking down that barrel is really what changed that fight entirely. If they killed the barrel, they should have been able to kill Jirall, but Jirall willing to pit his wits against Nate and Tierwulf and winning out the fight early on. And now you know that Tierwulf wants revenge. You know he wants vengeance. You can sense it. He's coming down towards this bottom lane. We said it's his favorite lane to gank. He's trying to catch out Genthix and Whitelotus if he can.
There's going to be melee minions for slow to jump to as well.
Jumps forward, Genthix tries to speed himself up, because Flows is going to connect. There's the undertow as well, flash away from Genthix, is ignited, Whitelotus has to flash and heal. And KLG get a lot of summoners out in that bottom lane. Oddie coming in from the flank as well. Remember, the Deadly Flourish is available for Whitelotus if he wants to follow up on anything from Oddie.
Yeah, Oddie just mostly here to try and diffuse the situation, allow them to clear the wave. They may just want to recall Rainbow7. Definitely do not want to use him to re-engage or to fight by any means. They have no mana, they have no capabilities, and 3 summoner spells used, but still the exhaust available from Genthix. Awkwardly enough, didn't actually get an opportunity to throw that one out. So he's going to at least keep the summoner spell and they will survive. Good defusal, but a very good look from KLG on the opposite side.
KLG will spot that Oddie used the Scryer's Bloom, cleared out a pink wall. Is a level behind Tierwulf at the moment, but should be able to hit that level 6 pretty soon as well. And you can see both the teams are trying to find a way to make plays in this game. They're trying to find avenues to where maybe someone overextends, maybe they can find a good team fight, but yet to really see anything explosive apart from that bottom lane play.
Yeah, just a lot of active movements and look-ins, but no actual successful attempts. The only real successful thing has been Jirall just having the hero play on that top side of the map, and he was at a CS deficit and doesn't fully control the lane to the point where Nate's been free to move. But conversely, the kill is what gives him the lead, and a Gangplank with the lead against the Camille usually just signals a sign of the times that this lane is completely over. And you may see Nate moving around the map just a little bit more often now. His top lane's not as safe.
And alongside Jirall, someone you look to carry for Rainbow7 is sEiya in that middle lane. Has had such a good performance on day one, went 10-2 on Azir, 7-1 on Cassiopeia, high kill participation, incredibly high damage per minute, actually first out of all of the mid laners for that. And although Rainbow7 did lose 2 games, he was a shining light for them in the darkness that was day one.
Yeah, and the place you have to look is the 35% of damage percentage of his team. That is insanity. Whitelotus joining the roster hasn't been having the best showing. He's super new coming back, and you know that eventually he'll get it back together. But sEiya has to do the hard yards to get him back into that position and actually remove the rust.
So we see Whitelotus and Genthix actually swap up towards the top lane here. They're going to join Jirall. This tower is very healthy, and Slow&Fix pushing in the bottom lane. Rainbow7 could go for a dive, but it's very risky into a Hexag Ultimatum and a Ragnarok.
sEiya actually coming up here as well. I don't think they just want to outright dive. They want to push them off the turret. The Gangplank damage has been chipping away successfully. Karma and Jhin also excel at doing that. And now they are committing themselves to the turret, and they should be able to get this first by a significant amount of time. Very smart lane swap here from Rainbow7 and well timed.
Great stuff overall. They get the first tower blood, get 1,000 gold lead with it, and KLG still about half health left on that tower in the bottom lane, so it's going to take a little bit of time before they are actually able to take that one down. However, Tierwulf will realize that 4 members of R7 are on the top side of the map and will take the mountain grid.
And I feel like if you were Rainbow7 in this instance, keep going. Actually just keep pushing the top lane, threaten the second turret. Look how far ahead they were in timing. But now whilst they do get the first turret blood, they give over a response objective and the Drake. It's only 9 minutes into the game, so they can't go to Herald. That's up in 30 seconds. To me, the better response here was keep pressuring top lane, keep it busy, bring people to you, or threaten another structure.
Now, they weren't quite able to do that. Still Realm Warp available for sEiya, so if this rotation back towards the bottom lane for Rainbow7 works out, they can use sEiya to join in the fight. Actually, it looks like Fix and Slow are just going to go back towards bot here again, answering Whitelotus and Genthix, who came down from Rainbow7. And we're probably going to go back to a laning phase for a little bit as we watch the 2 LATAM giants battle it out against each other.
This isn't one of the worst things to be doing as the Caitlyn either. If you can actually keep the 2v2 busy, you can keep them there and then maybe start to threaten rotations yourself. You would normally be, in a traditional sense, good as the Caitlyn there, but the Karma's denying that completely. They have absolute control in the 2v2, and because the turret is already gone for KLG, it's actually just a risky lane to be in. And they're there just to stop the push of their opponents right now, who may want to swap towards them.
You always have to respect the long-range engage that can come out from Rainbow7 as well, though, because even if you push out the bottom lane, you then rotate up as Whitelotus, you curse and call towards this mid lane, Plugo gets caught out, sEiya can chase it, you've got Glacial Prison there as well, so the ability for Rainbow7 to control vision in this bottom side river and push and then rotate is actually very impactful for Chaos Latin gamers who are trying to respond by getting some vision of their own.
And for what it's worth, I do look at the AD carries and their itemization choices at the moment. I would rather be the Caitlyn. I'm still not a fan of that Jhin build. I never will be, because that's not a BF sword. He's gone for the boots of swiftness. I understand where he gets damage from. I understand that he's a Jhin. God, just get a BF sword before it. It'd make me so much happier.
But you can run fast and shoot fast. What else do you want to do?
Be a tickle monster.
Zoom, 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 zoom. Pew, 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 pew. Zoom, 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 zoom. Pew, 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 pew. What? No?
Yeah. Yep. That's... What?
I think it works, Rusty, in all honesty. Yep. KLG start up the Rift Tower. Teleport coming in from Plugo here as well to defend that middle lane. Oddie's engaged on towards Nate, but not going to be able to do too much yet. No ultimates used as well, so maybe we'll start to see a bit of a skirmish here. A lot less tempo in this game than there was yesterday, on Thursday. On Thursday, it was very much about ramming your face into the opposition until they succumb to the pressure. And here, it's a bit more measured.
I think they're actually just shaking off the grudge match feelings. They've acknowledged that they had it out in the first game. It was a good battle. There may be some residual salt from one side here looking at Rainbow7 for losing that game, but ultimately, it's really important to win now. It's more important than on day one, because every game, whilst it still mattered then, now knocks you out. Ultimately, they have slowed down. I admire the fact that they've done this, even staring down the face of the grudge of their opponents. The place that they need to be looking towards, though, for the rest of this game is that Rift Herald. It's actually the only big objective left besides the turrets, and there's no Drake to get.
Yeah, we have to remember how important this game is for both teams as well, as you say, Rossi. Like Rainbow7, if they lose this, they are out. They cannot get to the group stages. KLG would tie with Gambit Gaming at the moment and play them later today as well, so they would have that opportunity to take the #1 spot. It would be in their control. And maybe part of that is playing into this. Maybe that little bit of apprehension that we talked about for Ascension is now playing in the minds of Rainbow7 and KLG as well.
Definitely. With this slow start, though, when you look at the actual team compositions, we mentioned that both teams have a bit of scaling in there. The Vladimir for the exceptional team fighting. Jhin for late game damage. Gangplank, of course, for late game damage. And the Ryze. There is no direct team that you would rather be when you actually compare them both. They just fill very similar purposes.
Right now, I'd rather be KLG because they're starting up a Rift Herald. And I like Rift Herald. I think it's a very good objective to take early on. Gets you a tower a lot of the time, especially we talked about the push potential of Caitlyn Braum. Against the Karma, they're not getting their extra damage on towers.
Or would you rather be Rainbow7 and collapse on them doing the Herald?
Oh, that's true, actually. I do like a good team fight, and that's what Oddie's trying to do at the moment. No, I'd rather be KLG because they secured it. So, yeah. I'm going to stick with my original.
That's a good call, Medic. It's a good call.
Yeah.
It does mean that the mid lane outer turret is a place they should be taking down. Whitelotus, calm down. I think that's where they're going to be next. If you were KLG here, Medic, you would definitely go towards that middle lane, use the Herald buff that is on your jungler. But you've got to get the vision first.
It is so important because there is great pick potential from Rainbow7. You can see a slight difference between day 1 and day 3 here at MSI. The jungle proximity has come down here for Chaos Latin Gamers. Haven't seen Tierwulf being that really aggressive player. And the gold, still in favor of Rainbow7, so maybe that's a good sign for Chaos Latin Gamers. Last time they were behind, they won the game, able to take an advantage between that 15 and 20 minute mark. Here they're using Rift Herald mid, but haven't got the wave to push with it.
They didn't actually bring the reinforcements of the people either. They just summoned it a bit hastily, you'd have to imagine, from them. They could have potentially grouped up as a 5v5, maybe even kept sEiya away from it. Ultimately, it makes you wonder what they're looking for as the next big thing.
Jirall from Plugo as well. They were looking for a fight. That's what they were looking for, Rusty, but they weren't quite able to find it in the jungle of Rainbow7.
I just get that vibe from, watching this game that they're too slow now. They're being too cautious and not playing towards what is their true self as a team. They're known to win. 90% win rate when ahead at 15 minutes. Being behind is never going to be a positive for them.
And a lot of that comes off the back of Tierwulf, who has really just farmed this game. He's tried to influence lanes. We saw him once or twice. Remember that bot lane fight, the top lane fight. Maybe he, after not getting kills there, was just like, okay, I'll just try and scale up on this Olaf. I'll try and get to a position where I can influence later game fights, where I can get on top of that Jhin. And he is out farming Oddie by a huge margin. 30 CS ahead is monumental, but not having that early game impact maybe puts KLG behind a little bit.
Kind of kept up with by the fact that mid lane sEiya has got a 30 CS lead himself, so he actually makes 600 odd gold of the difference there. Starts to be a major part of why they've got a lead at all. But you're right, jungle CS being more significant, of course. A lot of extra gold in the hands of Tierwulf. But can he actually make those plays at all when all the Sejuani has to do is press R and still be very relevant?
Definitely true. Now we're moving into that next stage of the game as well, Rusty, where teams will start to compete around these objectives, around the mountain drake.
That's Drake #2 for KLG as well. Rainbow7 may feel a stronger inclination to fighting here.
Ragnarok used here from Oddie, from Tierwulf trying to chase on towards Oddie. Plugo came in as well from the side, has to use the ghost in the end. Out with the Sango pool, Dragon goes down, Nate is on Jirall. There's a Glacial Fissure knock up as well, Jirall able to flash away. sEiya not in this fight. Realm Warp's in right at the last moment, but not in a position to actually re-engage. Tierwulf has to be a bit safe here from Oddie, because Oddie can get that stun. Oh, flash in from Plugo, though, into the Hemo play. The ace in the hole comes from long range as well. Oddie just about survives the Hemo play. And KLG are able to go on the front foot here into the mid lane.
And they do win the fight. Just the smallest amount of health remaining onto Oddie. The summoner spells used, the disengage, and They secured the Drake, so that's a major win for KLG overall. But what can they get from it besides the Drake? The answer is just continue farming, continue scaling. They want the big item spikes on Fix. They need those items on Caitlyn so that their composition does more than just the Vladimir's damage.
And getting that Caitlyn to 2, 3, 4 items can take time. It can just take a little bit of development. I want to give credit again to Nate, who is winning out in the CS in that matchup, even after Jirall got the early kill. Now, building up towards the Trinity Force, has a Tiamat just to help push him in towards that Gangplank as well. I think Nate is my standout performer of MSI, my overachiever of MSI thus far, because he came in saying, he's bad at laning, he's bad at team fighting, he's the weak point of this team, and he has really shown up.
He's usually down 20 CS at 15 minutes as well, I believe it is as well, so not having the best showing until now, where he's definitely showed up on the big stage, something that you love to see from these players when they get towards the MSI play-ins. Of course, with that lead, we saw him in the last team fight as well, being able to try and pick apart Jirall. A very easy player to try and look towards. When the fights happen, Rainbow7 are very good at kiting backwards. That's one major strength that they have got for themselves. Gangplank with Kegs, Ryze constantly machine gunning whilst kiting, and a Karma for the constant poke and moving backwards while stealing damage and controlling zones. You do really rely on Nate being able to lock someone down with slow, otherwise they can just keep kiting away from you, and they'll kill you doing that.
And you rely on Tierwulf as well, just running at that backline, because you can't slow a Ragnarok, you can't slow the god of war.
But that's like actually a big part of the problem potentially for KLG. If you can't slow him down and he's just screaming and running aggressively towards them, Gangplank kicks the rest of the team. He doesn't look behind him because all he's seeing is red. Could be very risky.
It's true, it's true. It's when we used to see the Zyra pick into the Olaf as well, because the Olaf would run over the Stranglethorns and the Zyra would just be like, okay, no one else can join the fight, but in the top lane there is a fight being started up, and sEiya taken down by the Undertow.
Yeah, Tierwulf with a little bit of a snipe there on the backside. Fix is the one doing most of the work. The red buff now his on the Caitlyn. Pushing forwards, they should actually look towards the top lane out of turret. Rainbow7 already trying to respond, however, moving towards side lanes.
Seems like they're trying to come down towards the bottom lane. Nate was aware, backed away down towards that. Plugo was able to clear out mid as well. Still that 30 farm advantage for sEiya though. He's done a very good job of being consistent in that lane. This is something that Gangplank can do that really slows KLG as well.
I'd say that this turret is inevitable just because they got the pick, but that Gangplank buys an entire wave of time. And then you look towards mid lane as well. Plugo on a Vladimir if he wants to clear the waves. Very risky. You have to step up, you have to step next to a Jhin's auto attack range as well. Let's see what happens to sEiya on the top side. Now, Caitlyn is the person who gets most of the stuns off. It just requires a single Q from slow. The ultimate doesn't even need to hit.
Did pop both of his summoners to try and get out of that one, but was unable to.
Had the ultimate, but there was also the Braum connecting. So one of the big strengths of Braum against the Ryze is that you can't just use the ult and escape. You will get crowd control. No more stopwatches for you.
I'm so glad that change went through. It was not fun to watch Ryze just pop the golden stopwatch and then get out of it. It looks like Rainbow7 are trying to start something in the mid lane though. First onto slow, the trap doesn't actually do anything to Oddie as he dodges around it, and Rainbow7 still unable to find their connection. Only 400 gold in this game, Rusty. It's incredibly close between these two combatants, and at the moment, it doesn't really look like either team is able to find the upper hand.
Yeah, definitely on a knife's edge. Baron being alive is going to be one of the biggest things to look towards. 2 Mountain Drakes for KLG means it's very easy for them to start to sneak that away. Side lane control from Nate will mean a great deal for them. Also, if Jirall's ever left unattended in a lane, or if he's ever busy elsewhere, Nate can just take a structure down by himself extremely quickly. That's where we're starting to see a little bit of the ARAM come across from both of these teams, because that's the place they have to be.
And those towers are low as well. At least the Rainbow7 turret is quite low and could be taken at any moment. Tierwulf and Plugo trying to push into sEiya here. Oddie there to answer. Tops and jungles and mids challenging each other. Looks like Fix and Slow could work their way up as well. Instead, they're just trying to catch out Genthix, who's dodging towards the side. We'll spot them out with the sweeper, but they get stunned up with concussive blows. There's a Glacial Fissure as well, and as a support, that's not the place you want to be. Great stuff from KLG to get the kill. They forced Oddie out of the jungle as well.
It's just such a great combo to watch from the Braum and the Caitlyn multiple times. Pushing them back here on the top side may actually open up the turret. We're also seeing something change down in this bottom lane as well. The tides are turning. Things have started to equalize with a Caitlyn and a Braum getting ahead. Everywhere else, Rainbow7 still looking strong.
Glacial Fissure used cleanse straight away from Slow. Turret falling lower. Slow will tank it up and they'll take it down. Mid tower falls KLG. now in the gold lead, but still only 500 between the two teams. And talking about that bot lane, a lot of it comes down to the fact that Jirall has finished his first item, whereas Nate still waiting for that Trinity Force.
Yeah, note that the first item is also a Sterix Gauge, so it does not want to die in the lane at all. You hit a single keg as Gangplank and the tides start to shift down there, and there's a Trinity Force on the opposite side by Nate, so not looking for sustain in his lane either. Trinity Force is a very good duelist item with that lack of sustain. It is about having that one big hit and snowballing. Gangplank will just sustain and have a grand time if you extend that laning phase. Earth number 3.
Rainbow7 did get the right timing on this. Tierwulf's going to jump in, trying to smite fight with Oddie, but he's stunned up and the Baron was stopped. Oddie takes down Tierwulf, takes down the mountain, and now can look to push on towards FLICKR as well. Here comes the curtain calls. This is curtains for KLG. Rainbow7 finally collapsing. They're managing to get the rain of hell down from the side. They get FLICKR up towards the side as well. Plugo came in with a heat up like Nate in the midst of them all. Gets a 3-man knockup. There's a Hex to go to Maidem as well. And that might be the ultimate fight that Nate needed in this battle. Plugo jumps in onto Oddie. One more shot would be enough. The tides of blood, not quite. sEiya's gonna lock him down. Jirall dodging towards the side as well. The Hemo playing Sanguine Pool, not enough. One team won, one team lost. It was a brawl in the rim.
It took 23 minutes, but the scrappy nature of these teams does come through in the end. There's no real win. You do get a Mountain Drake in your Rainbow7. They just see blood. There's great moments in it, but there's also some pretty funny moments. Tierwulf way too early, doesn't have his team nearby, just thinks that he can steal it away. A third Earth Drake is important, so I can understand it. And then FLICKR's caught. But Slow is the other player that you have to highlight. He knows that his AD carry is dead, still chooses to stand in front. And that is a couple of extra auto attacks. That's a stun onto sEiya, that's time bought. Or overall, Nate does get in here with a sick flash. So that's great from him as well. You take those moments, but unfortunately the chaos that precedes those great moments just starts to look like a bit of a wash.
Oddie escapes with like basically no HP every single time.
A dangerous game.
Yeah, he got the triumph of Nate dying off towards the side as well. That's just crazy.
That was actually the difference between him living or dying. Super clutch from his team to get the kill. Not necessarily from him, he was just running away.
And then we have to highlight Tierwulf, only 60 damage in that fight. Could have done more.
He was aiming for the Drake, so I'm surprised he actually did 60. He was looking to kill that one quick.
That's true, but still, basically nothing between these two teams. I think you can give that last fight across towards Rainbow7. They did get the mountain, they got more kills. They now have Infinity Edge completed on Whitelotus as well, so he's starting to get some damage on the Jhin.
And when you look towards the top laner itemization, there's a significant lead as well for Jirall. So he is really set up at this current moment for windows of strength to be pushing in a side lane.
So many different opportunities for both these two teams. You've got the chase potential from KLG, you've got the pick potential from Rainbow7. But Tierwulf once again just face checking whatever he can.
Now the pressure's mounting actually. KLG feeling confident, pushing forwards. 2 big items done from Vladimir usually signals that he will start looking towards those team fights. We mentioned that Trinity Force can duel from Nate, but he's also showing his prowess when it comes to team fighting as Camille. Not an easy thing to do, but they have proven they are entirely capable of that. And so now as they press forwards into the enemy jungle, the vision is being placed. The first major step has been completed by them, but they haven't cleared the Baron pit. Just one ward.
Yeah, there's so much vision being placed around this Baron as well, as you say, Rusty, that with the control wards from KLG, at some point Rainbow7 do have to check it. Because KLG could just clear out this ward and then start it if they wanted to. They've now got the Baron control ward in the pit as well. Nate no teleport though, and Jirall does have his. So still that opportunity for Rainbow7 to react to something that KLG do.
And with how strong the Caitlyn is, they can definitely move over to that Baron and just bait it above all else. Even control wards being forced. As they placed the control ward, they accidentally attacked the Baron. I think that just freaked Rainbow7 out. They immediately ran over to the objective to see if they could get a ward in place. And now FLICKR will cement that control to be in their favor. But the problem here is they haven't broken the top lane outer turret. So all of this time that they spent placing vision, there's still a very safe place available for sEiya at the very least. Knows that the side lane control isn't going to be as prolific.
So the question now becomes as well, how do Rainbow7 react to the fact that Nate is still in the side lane, no teleport on him, He's pushed that up. Jirall's going to have to answer at some point. And then once again, KLG get the priority to push in and get vision and maybe force towards that top lane tower. Because as you say, it's kind of a safe haven, an oasis in an area of darkness for Rainbow7.
The interesting thing past that, you're right, the teleport being available for Jirall, so he will have to go and answer, and that is an expectation. It's the rest of the map from KLG knowing, of course, that Nate doesn't have the teleport. They just go mid. Caitlyn's got 2 items. They're very safe with clearing their waves right now as well. Nothing can get past the Braum. It's impossible to actually catch the Olaf. You might be able to force an ultimate. But the composition of Rainbow7, we spoke towards its strength kiting backwards. Going forwards is only the Sejuani, and that is the Olaf that's going to be there. So it's really difficult for them to actually get the picks and navigate those picks.
Comes down to a battle really between whether KLG can get the right engage with Nate flanking, with Tierwulf running in the backline, with Plugo getting onto that backline of Whitelotus and of sEiya and of Jirall, or whether Rainbow7 can kite back effectively, whether they can actually delay the engage. And whether Nate wins the 1v1 in the side lane as well. He has got Trinity Force, hasn't got his second item yet. Camille is good in 1v1s, but against the Gangplank, it's not the easiest matchup.
No, not at all. It's definitely going to still come down to a skill matchup and the timing of their spell uses. This top lane, now being, of course, in Australian lanes on the opposite side, is not a place that you'll need to explore unless something crazy happens. I actually think that most of their priority will be going towards the teleport usage. KLG excel in the 4v4. They do excel in being able to poke and work around that as a 4-man team. Nate has always just been thrown to the wayside. The pushing continues.
Yeah, interesting decision here from both KLG and from Rainbow7. Rainbow7 saying, we'll take your mid tower, but we lose 2 turrets in the top lane. In fact, maybe even more, because if Slow tanks this up, they can keep the minions alive. At some point, Rainbow7 have to react.
They actually have to recall, or they have to use the right ultimate. They're committing to the turret. What is Rainbow7 doing?
They're going for Baron. Well, see, they want to get the Baron off the board here. Vix and Nate are going to push there. Here starts the Baron as well from Rainbow7, down to 2,000 HP. Tierwulf on his way. Pops the blast, gets it, doesn't get it though. sEiya secures the inhibitor, falls in the top side. And we will see Tierwulf have to flash away as well. But now, Rainbow7 are on the wrong side of this fight. Realm Warp to the mid to buff up those minions as well. And they should be able to get to safety.
We are dancing around the map currently. An inhibitor still goes down from Rainbow7. Kaos and Gamers make it work for themselves. They make the correct play. They utilize the Caitlyn. The teleport was good. And there was even an opportunity to steal that Baron away. So in the end, that was a very close scenario where you're happy that you've got the Baron, but you need to actually make that Baron work and operate around that to get something back, or you just lose.
Oddie's actually getting slowed by the Cloud Drake there. Blastcone comes out with the Hexagon and keeps him in place. KLG will just settle for the Cloud Drake. And as you say, Rainbow7 have to do something with this Baron now, otherwise they have basically an entirely negative Baron power play.
Now they do get themselves the recalls off at the very least, so now is the time. They've got about a minute to walk out of the lanes, set the side lanes up, utilize this Gangplank, but he has to deal with super minions, so it does take an extended amount of time for him to actually get a push going in a side lane at all. You are looking at the rest of the map once again. Can the Sejuani find an engage? Can Ryze deal enough damage? Like, can they actually utilize a Baron buff with the comp they have? Or was that just about making a play because they had no other option?
Felt perhaps that they were caught behind the 8-ball. Caught putting shoes on a caterpillar and just didn't quite understand.
And they're not here to do that.
They could rotate. Yeah, you're just not here to put shoes on a caterpillar. Is it boots on a caterpillar?
It's boots. You can't...
I tried to get the Australian phrases right, couldn't quite land it.
They're not here to put boots on caterpillars.
What does it even mean, Russ?
It means that they're not here to put boots on caterpillars.
Okay.
Well, that was quite literal.
Sure. Not here to waste time. Not here to
oh, sure, yeah, that's...
delay too much.
I mean, that also works.
They're here to take down their counterparts from the south of Latin America. Oddie caught out a little bit here. There's a play down towards the bottom side as well as sEiya and Jirall tried to catch out Nate. Weren't able to do it. And KLG just delaying this Baron. It's only a minute and a half left on it now, and really Rainbow7 haven't got anything out of it.
Yeah, they've been routed. The Ryze ultimate even being used here.
But Tierwulf is on the wrong side of this. FLICKR there as well, but Rainbow7 do have a 4-man squad. Plugo coming in. There's the cutter from the top side as well. Gangplank doing a lot of work as well. Cannon Barrage dodged away from the rest of KLG. Deadly Barrage unable to connect, and now KLG. Nate jumps on towards the backline. Oddie, the target, up towards the top side. The fight continues, but Oddie just about able to get away with the help of his support. Nate now needs to escape. Hookshot, jump in, precision protocols enough, but he sacrifices himself for it.
Nate commits himself to the play, and you know what? He does get the trade in the end. That is still buying time with the Baron buff available from Rainbow7, where in the end it is a 1-for-1 trade. Oddie's the only engaged form, however, for them, so it's just a disengage. It's just buy more time. It means the Baron has been completely diffused. 3k gold lead, still nice to have, but they don't have an inhibitor.
And minions pushing in that top lane as well, and both these teams so close to the next step of their journey at MSI. KLG would tie Gambit if they win this game. Rainbow7 need to win, otherwise they're eliminated. Their head-to-head's just not good enough. You can sense that anxiety. You can sense the fact that both the teams want to make the plays. You can sense the fact that Nate there was like, I can do this, I can get out. Got the kill, wasn't able to escape.
I think a lot of this is just not wanting to lose more than needing to win as well. The way that they're playing these games out, the apprehension to actually make the big plays. Nate's the one that goes forwards and tries to be a hero. After Rainbow7 decide we have a moment. But how long it is between those moments actually existing, you can really feel that. They're afraid of it.
Such a difference between this game and the last time these two teams played. Last time we had 32 kills in a 31-minute match. This time we have 11 in a 33, but it's just as much on the knife edge as it was then. 3 dragons to 1. 3,000 gold between the two teams. A lot of that sitting on the top lane and the mid lane for Rainbow7. You can see 60 farm ahead, 50 farm ahead. A positive Baron power play for Rainbow7, yes, but they did not crack the base of KLG, which is what they would have wanted to do.
You can see immediately from KLG, once the Baron subsides, they push forwards again. They've acknowledged that the Baron was a risk, let the risk run its course, and now start to siege again with that Caitlyn, and they are.
Got a 4-item Caitlyn, you've got double locket to keep her protected as well. 3 items sitting on Plugo, so if a fight does begin, he can get on towards that back line. And Rainbow7 unable to react at the moment, really just waiting for that inhibitor to respawn before they can bring Jirall across to the fight.
They are hitting a point, though, where they're getting super big items. You're waiting for the death cap from sEiya, that's the one remaining thing, but Jirall is huge with his itemization choices. Whitelotus, whilst it's just a Vamp Scepter and the Last Whisper, still 2 very crucial items for his composition, for the fact that he's going to be trying to sustain himself and deal damage at the same time. And we saw how much he does when a single auto attack connects to the likes of FLICKR.
Just melts through his opposition if he can land the shots, but that's the question. Can they land the shots? Can they hit the punches when they matter? Because at the moment, KLG are the ones who have Rainbow7 on the ropes. Baron up in a minute and a half, Elder in a minute and 20 seconds as well. Both key objectives for these teams.
And that's the place that you actually have to look towards, right? When both objectives are available at the same time, what do they prioritize and why? There's 2 Mountain Drakes for the side of KLG. The Caitlyn, the siege composition will do wonders for them if they wanted to look towards that. They're actually Shirellia's Elder Flash.
Engage with the hero play, Plugo in the midst of them all, but Rainbow7 fighting back, that's what they want to do. They open up the curtains, they're looking for an encore for this fight as KLG try and retreat out, slow, dead, Jirall in the midst of it all, the Glacial Prison lands as well. FLICKR has to get the head out of there because Rainbow7 are not giving up, they're pushing forward, they want Tierwulf, they want the kills, they want the game, they want to be the best in Latin America, and Whitelotus finally shows up to the MSI stage, a double kill at the end.
Big plays from Whitelotus, and it felt forced from KLG. That's because it was, and suddenly Rainbow7, they can punish them, they can push forwards, the objectives are theirs to take. And they've got a lot of time to work with right now. 30 seconds on FLICKR, and he is the most important member.
Is this just it? Can they just force it? And only 1 minion there for them. They may just take the inhibitor and back away. Remember, those 2 big objectives are on the board.
Yeah, you actually go back to the Elder. You go from the Elder to the Baron as fast as you possibly can and see if they're going to try and contest you in that objective. But right now, with that pick, the snowball is there. The gold lead now becomes theirs. Once they get these objectives and they shop, they are set to succeed.
Rainbow7 just pull the trigger. Jirall and Whitelotus combining so perfectly to make that play happen. And it's the kite we talked about, their ability to stop the engage from KLG. They'll move up towards the Baron, and you have to feel that Chaos Latin Gamers cannot challenge them here, not against an Elder Drake team.
There is a chance with everybody alive now, however, that they at least have presence. And we mentioned the recalls that it need to be done from Rainbow7. They've got money to spend. They need to spend that so that they are as strong as possible, or they are at risk of dying. Whitelotus doesn't know it, but he's playing with fire.
I mean, it's really smart play as well from KLG. They know they can't win a full-on 5v5 team fight, so they say, maybe we can catch someone out. That's what they're going to try and do. Whitelotus there. Blank does not come out. Important to note as well that Jirall has completely upgraded his ultimate now, has the fire at will, so increased fire rate on the cannon barrage, Death's Daughter with a mega cannonball in the middle, and the final upgrade as well in the Raise morale. So he will be giving extra movement speed, he'll be doing tons of damage and getting extra shots out from that
off
cannon
the
barrage.
Baron here as well, so they're looking for the desperation play.
There is the cannon barrage, there is the curtain call, and there is KLG running for the wins because Rainbow7 have opened up upon them. The Baron still alive. Rainbow7 not even fighting
The
for
Ryze
it.
ulti could actually take them straight to the mid lane as well. He may just look towards ending the game.
Only going to
forcing
take
them
sEiya.
back.
Only going to take sEiya though. The rest of Rainbow7 are on their way, but immediately back away.
But they have to recall, that's the thing. So it completely opens up the Baron as an availability for them. Now the distance it takes for them to get back is risky. You can see the two covert operatives, Tierwulf and Slow. They need to try and stop this. The game depends on it.
This is all on Tierwulf. This is all on the Tierwulf and Oddie rivalry. If he can get in there, if he can smite it, he can steal it away, but they're not even going to try. Rainbow7 now 10,000 gold ahead. Eldered up, Baroned up, they're looking for the win.
Rainbow7 absolutely holding the hopes of Ascension as well as themselves in this game, getting these victories. So watch the fight that happens in mid lane of Vladimir with Jirall and flashing forwards isn't exactly your ideal engage options. That's very forced from them, frankly, and then they're just caught. You have a step up, you don't execute on the play, you're against the Jhin and the Sejuani, and even the Karma, they just turn around. They take you down, and just like that, they're able to punish KLG in their entirety.
Started off as a 4v5 as well. Nate had to teleport into the fight, so there was no option to pick it up at the end. You can see Whitelotus finally really stepping up here at MSI. We highlighted him at the start of the day, not performing as well as he would like to. Well, 6,000 damage is just how you want your AD carry to perform.
He stepped right up in that last fight. Of course, presented on the silver platter, but it does take a good player to hit that one home, and he's doing a lot more work now compared to that day one performance, as you point out before.
Next steps for Rainbow7. Elder Dragon will come up next, but that's still a way away. Inhibitor down in the mid lane. Nate splitting top, sEiya splitting bot.
It's just group and siege, really. You can send the Gangplank to the side lane, but he doesn't have the teleport, so there's a chance they actually change their mind and put Ryze there. The Ghost could change the teleport if need be, if KLG choose to hard force it. But the better play here, the more optimal play, if they can execute on it, is just bring the Camille to them immediately. Threaten the dives, go forwards, and take another inhib if they don't.
The question is how quickly Nate's able to take that inhib now. Because he hasn't got teleport. Jirall's actually gone back to answer him, and he's not going to go for the inhib. Instead, he's going to hookshot across, back away to the fountain.
Yeah, that means they're committed to the 4v4, potentially 4v5, not knowing where Nate is, and knowing that his teleport is about to be available. Very risky stuff for Rainbow7 if they choose to stay in the area. It's actually a situation where they could get caught out of position by KLG.
And as soon as you're caught out of position, you're going to get melted because you look at Plugo, he's sitting at Rabadon's, Zhonya's, Protobell, and Shirelia's. You've got a 4-item Caitlyn building towards that 5th item, maybe a Bloodthirster there for her with the Vampiric Scepter sitting. And Nate's sitting at 4 items as well, so it's a very, very strong KLG team if they can get on top of you.
Not that that's an easy thing to do. No. From what we have already seen in the last team fights, that's absolutely what they want to do. They've drafted themselves into this late game hole if they're just running at their opponents. It is about getting the kills pretty much immediately. Even now, the QSS and the Mercurials rather upgraded from Whitelotus extra move speed. Summon is available for everyone across the board right now. It's all about the flanks, perhaps, if they can get that off. If Nate can find the mark, lock the Jhin down, lock the Ryze down.
At the moment, it's Fix finding them, Oddie finding the mark on Fix. Curtain Call comes out as well. Slow should be able to just tank up a couple of these. Not too much damage from the Jhin, but it's not only Whitelotus you have to catch. You have to catch Jirall or sEiya as well, because they're sitting at full builds.
Oh my God.
And you can see what Jirall can do if he manages to get a little bit of damage down. Second tower falls with this Baron and R7, and now knocking on the inhibitor towers.
So hard to actually stop the progression here from Rainbow7 with a Gangplank this large with a Jhin. Every time the rapid fire cannon is available, stepping forwards to attack you. They're desperate, they're in.
Nate jumps in, Plugo here as well, off towards the side, the engage, and R7 have been able to kite back. The join from sEiya, this is the turn, this is exactly what Rainbow7 want. Already the GA from Nate, and Chaos Latin gamers are falling to pieces. Rainbow7 get one, and they can chase forward. Big slow Nate and Tierwulf have nothing to do but retreat.
Whoa.
The jump in from Lotus!
Pushing
that!
forward. That should actually be it. There's the inhibitor gone, the second to follow, pushing now. They may just threaten to end straight away.
Rainbow7 living up to the pride of Latin America. They were not satisfied losing to KLG. They were not satisfied losing to their South American counterparts. They wanted the win, and they'll take it right out of Chaos Latin Gamers' dead, cold hands.
And they get the victory in style as well, Rainbow7. The Gangplank looked outstanding from Jirall. And sEiya got to take a backseat journey as well to victory in this instance. The man that's dealing 35% of his team's damage as the rest of the roster come back around him. Whitelotus having a very good showing as well.
And what a way for Rainbow7 to save their lives in this tournament as well. If they'd lost that, they were out. Beating the team that destroyed you before, keeping yourself with a hope of making it to knockouts. Rainbow7 will be riding that momentum train all the way into their game against Ascension next.
That's going to be a big one. Every game matters still, even for Ascension now. Staring down the face of these teams getting victories. And we don't even know who's going to win today. That's where we're at from this second game already.
No idea whatsoever. It's crazy. And you can see the improvement from teams as well, from day 1 to day 3. Just the change in mindset, that maybe an adaptation to the new meta as well that's coming here on 8.8. It's very good stuff from all of these teams.
And that's the biggest thing, right? The first day, it's not going to eliminate you completely. It does put you on the back foot, Ascension being 0-3, of course. But coming into the third day, showing that you can adapt, showing that you can grow, can learn, and actually show up to be the best possible team you can be, does usually set you up to succeed, or at least make yourself known as a region that we are still very good.
Yeah, well, Rainbow7 have another game coming up right after the break as they face Ascension Gaming, who are also hot off a win of their own. Don't go anywhere. He doesn't cancel it, straight into the face of Tierwulf, but Nate, that's very greedy from Jirall. Look at sEiya, he's on his way up. What is this, Jirall? Rainbow7 finally collapsing. They're managing to get the rain of hell down from the side. They get Bix off towards the side as well. Plugo came in with a hero like Nate in the midst of them all, gets a 3-man knockup. There's a Hex to go to Maidem as well. They want Tierwulf, they want the kills, they want the game, they want to be the best in Latin America. Whitelotus finally shows up to the MSI stage, a double kill at the end. The join from sEiya, this is the turn, this is exactly what Rainbow7 want. Already the GA from Nate, and Chaos Latin Gamers are falling to pieces. Rainbow7 get one and they can chase. They wanted the win and they'll take it right out of Chaos Latin Gamers' dead, cold hands.
Predator, proud partner and official monitor provider